I wasn't nervous before, but all that music got my adrenaline pumping.
I'm scared.
That horror thing
That
going
trailer
before.
terrified me.
That
was wild.
Great and scary. The animals in there. Oh.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Well,
That's good.
we got some people watching already, so we'll kick it off. Welcome everyone who is watching now live, as well as people who will be watching in the future, to our panel.
We're time traveling. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
this is part of the Sci-Fi.
You know what
That's
it's
the panel.
called.
The SPFBO I can't say the other one.
Oh yeah, we don't talk about the other one. No, they're SPFBO self-published fantasy blog off, and then the science fiction side, the self-published science fiction competition. We're going to talk about all things related to both of those. We're pretty excited. I did want to give a quick shout out to FanFiAddict as a whole, as well as Adrian, who has been coordinating a lot of this stuff. We've also got Sean, who's helping out with our tech side today. So thank you all for organizing TBRCon. We love being a part of it and being able to participate in the other panels and view lots of great content. So I know I've already listened to quite a few panels, and they've been really fantastic so far. So ours will be the worst, but it's one of the last.
Hey.
So
Guaranteed.
The bar is low.
Speak for yourself.
Do what we got to do.
All right, let's kick it off with some introductions. So we'll just go through each of you. We'll start with Patrice and jump over to Rob. Let us know who you are, what genre you write, what your SPFBO books have been, and then a favorite character you have written.
Okay. All right. I have a couple hours for that. No. Okay. So I'm Patrice Fitzgerald, and I am an author and a publisher of myself and others, and a former attorney, a recovering attorney, as I like to say. And as I shared with the panel before we went on the air live, a bit of a singer. So I was not involved with SPFBO, but I was involved with the inaugural year of SPSFC, and we're thinking of a good acronym for that. SpaceFic is one that has been suggested. And I was very excited that the book that I co-wrote, wait, here's my commercial, Captain Wu, let's see, can we see it here? Part of the Starship Nameless trilogy, came in third place. It was one of the 7 finalists, and by scores, it came in third. There's only one winner, though, so a lovely woman from Sweden, and I'm trying to remember her first name because she goes by initials. Iron Truth is her book. I think she won first prize. It was very impressive. And this year I am a judge in SpaceFic, SPSFC, and having a great time. It's really wonderful to read all of these books. Let's see the rest of the questions. Oh, my favorite character. It's a tough one. It's a toss-up. I have to say, let me not forget my fabulous co-author from Oz, Australia, Jack Lister. We talk about the stories. He does the drafting. I do the editing. We, make it all up together. But he came up with the original character, Captain Wu, who is a 60-something grandmother who's, can I use sort of bad words here? Does a lot of ass kicking. Is that okay? I mean, this is not broadcast TV, right? They're not going to blip us.
Mike's like, I can't participate if we put a limit on that.
Okay.
Mike's very fragile, so
I know.
So she's a great character, and she's the captain, of course, and people have compared it to Firefly a bit. One of these ragtag groups of smugglers that are going around the galaxy and having a wonderful time. Doing heists, basically, for the rich people. They don't kill people, or they try not to kill people. They're in it for the money. And but it's a toss-up between her, who's probably the main character, and her fabulous pilot, Rev, short for a long quote from Shakespeare that has to do with rebels. And she's a quirky, I'd say probably bisexual, but we aren't real explicit about it until the next trilogy. And she reads, old-fashioned bodice rippers. So she's and she often pilots with her feet so anyway, those two characters they're all interesting, but those are.
Have your hands free for something.
I love it. Yeah, those sound great. Thank you, Patrice. All right, let's jump over to Rob, and then we'll go to JD Evans or Jen.
Hi. I'm Rob J. Hayes. I'm a British fantasy and sci-fi author. And yeah, I don't have the crazy long introduction there. I'm never good at talking about myself, so I'll leave it. Oh no, wait, books. I've wrote some books. That's why I've got some here. So I've been in SPFBO many times, 5 now, I think. I was in the finalist with Never Die, and then I won it one time with Where Loyalties Lie.
Wow.
And I'm also in this year's specific SPF.
Adrian said
SC.
that we could say the F word. I'm just saying.
Space fuck, right? I'm in this year's space fuck. That was what we decided we were going to call it beforehand. With Titan Hoppers, which is sort of a sci-fi progression thing. There we go. And my favorite character I've ever written, I'll go with Guang from Spirits of Vengeance, who's an old poet who's constantly grumbling about his knees, because he was very fun and I relate to that.
Coming from the runner. That's sad
yeah,
if you're
exactly.
About
Knees
Yeah.
running.
Especially from
It's
a runner.
not good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. All right, Jen, and then Tom.
All right, I am Jen. I go by JD Evans as an author. I was the winner of SPFBO 7 with this book, which is a fantasy romance, and inexplicably won last year against some really amazing authors. And that's what I write. I write epic fantasy romance. Rain and Ruin's the first book in a 6-book series. I'm working on book 4 right now. It's set in the Levant in an Ottoman-inspired empire. And I'd say my favorite character is a secondary character in my second book, who's the brother of the main character, and he's the snarkiest character in all of the books, and just spends, I don't know, 130,000 words just being sarcastic, and I feel like everybody likes a character like that, so he's my favorite. As far as about me, I was in the military for 10 years, and now I raised 2 crazy children, and that's it, and I write. So yeah, I'm not good at talking about myself either, Rob. There you go.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you, Jen. All right, over to Tom, and then Fletcher.
All righty. Hi, everybody. I am Tom, or T.A. Bruno, as I am on the paper. I wrote the Song of Kamaria trilogy, and this one, In the Orbit of Sirens, was 5th place finalist in the first SPSFC. And it was a really cool contest. I was really happy to be part of it. It's pretty cool to be talking about it today. As far as favorite character I've ever written, I have to say it's actually one of the major characters in the second book in this trilogy, an Orkney named Larn, or he's an Orknell, sorry. They are kind of bird alien people. And just Larn was so fun to write because he's kind of a loner. He didn't want to be part of everybody's stuff going on. So it's just kind of fun to connect with a guy that's just like, all right, I'm out of here. As far as me in real life, I work in the film industry. I do previs and layout for DreamWorks, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of quirky character animation type stuff, and doing previs kind of lined me up to tell stories. So that's kind of just rolled into writing books. And
awesome.
last thing is I'm in the middle of editing another book called Down Below Beyond, and hopefully that'll be out later this year. And I'm hoping to stick it in the next SPSFC. So that's
Nice.
enough about Tom Bruno.
Make it happen, man. Make it happen. Love it. Thanks, Tom.
Give it a try.
All right, Fletcher, you're up.
Hey, I'm Michael R. Fletcher. I've been in the SPFBO twice. I came 2nd and 4th. And I've got a book in this year's Spacefuck. called Ghosts of Tomorrow. So I'll be talking to Patrice later about bribes and stuff. And probably my favorite character would be the trio of reprobates from Beyond Redemption here behind me. Yeah, I don't exist outside of making book things, do book stuff. So that's it.
Love it. All right. And drinking whiskey, I believe, is your
no,
secondary
that's
pastime.
a lie. I was typecast. It was framed. It wasn't my fault.
Awesome.
But
All right. Thank you all.
Zach, you need to introduce yourself.
Yeah, who the fuck are you anyway?
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
Zach. I'm the moderator. do I gotta say more than that? I don't know.
Not on this panel, that's just your nickname. I'm the moderator.
No, I was in SPFBO 6, was a finalist, and I think I got 4th. And
Nice.
My favorite character I've written is actually one that I have recently written in my next upcoming series. It's this woman who is a luthier, so she's a woodworker, makes stringed instruments, but she is also a potato sommelier.
Oh.
It's as bad as you think. And I have really, really loved writing that. My writing group was like, I'm so sick about hearing about potatoes. And I was like, yep, too bad. That's been fun.
Ah,
All right, let's jump into questions. So first one I got is, we have all been part of these competitions and, done well in them. So how has being part of them affected your writing career? And I'm just going to open it up. Whoever would like to go first, feel free to jump in.
well, I think it was a real shot in the arm. Jack Lister and I, with Captain Wu, were sort of thrilled and happy. I mean, we thought it was a good book. I continue to think it's a good book. But as it kind of advanced in the ranks and with, dare I say it, space fuck, the rungs, you watch them as the scores go up. And so that was pretty cool. Like, okay, we didn't get booted out at the very beginning and we made it to the next one and the next semifinalist, et cetera. And then just thrilled. So that's encouragement. That means that not just, your friends down the street or a couple of fans like your book, but the judges, who are themselves usually both writers and reviewers and pretty astute judges. So that the encouragement was what I found really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of bouncing off what Patrice said, it was that rising in the ranks and everything, that was addictive. Like I'd go on Twitter, like in the beginning, I'm like, there's no way I'm making it past the first round. I'm just gonna screw this contest. Like it was almost spiteful. I'm like, they're not gonna like my book. I don't even care. And then they started liking the book, and I'm like, okay, now I care a lot. And I would check Twitter and just keep checking the hashtag SPFFC and everything. And then eventually I'm like, wow, this is actually really cool. I just never thought I had a shot at it. And it was just interesting to see, all the reviews come in and everything of all these different reviewers. And as Patrice said, they're also writers too, a lot of them. So it was kind of validating in a way to see it kind of climb the ranks and everything. And you learn a lot about your own writing in the process.
Right.
I mentioned I'm writing a new book, and a lot of what I heard during this contest, I'm factoring in as I write it. So it's actually it was a learning process as well as just a rewarding one in general. So, and I'm a little apologetic for being so angry at it at first.
But it didn't know, so you're all right.
I didn't know, yeah. So it was one of those I think I was angry at myself because I'm like, I'll do it, but I don't think it's gonna work.
It's stupid.
But it worked. So it was pretty cool.
And one of the best things about entering competitions like this is if you make the finals, there's a pretty good chance you can hook up with one of the judging teams and come back in a future year. I mean, like you with SPFC. Right. I'm a guest judge with a fantasy book critic this year for the SPFBO, and to get a chance to absolutely crush the shit out of young writers' dreams, it's worth every second. All the pain that we went through going the competition, the doubt. Now, it's so good. It's delicious.
You're firming them up. You're making them look, this is what your entire career is going to be like.
Oh yeah.
Slack.
Oh yeah. Just, are you ready for just rejection and failure? Because here's your next 10 years.
All right, so now
full of
that
hope.
Fletch has brought the dark, I'll come in with the sunshine. I say this all the time, so I'm sure that people have heard it, but I think one of the best things that came out of it for me, career-wise and just in general, were when you get to the finalist and even into the semifinalist, we bonded pretty hard. You're kind of going through this together, and it was much more friendly and supportive and amazing than I suspected it would be. I thought it was going to be really cutthroat, and it was not like that at all. And I love all the people that I went through SPFBO with, and they're fantastic. And the community that I was part of, I was kind of a lurker. And if you do anything with Crystal Matar, you can't be a lurker anymore because she drags you into the indie community. So I'm there now, and it's neat because it's not just about how many books did you sell, but like you get within the indie community itself, within authors and editors and just writing friends, and that's also incredibly valuable, I think, in this case.
I would echo that. When I was in the finals with Never Die, the group of sort of like finalists that I met there with Virginia and Miracle and Alicia and all the others, it was a very useful group to have, partly for when we were all surviving the finals of the competition, which can be brutal when you sort of like sat there and a new review comes in, you're just like, I need someone to talk to about because they gave me 4 stars. So it's always nice to have people to go and complain to, but also just, sort of like moving forwards, you sort of, it's a group of friends that you can just go back to time and time again, and they've been through everything, they go through everything all over the place with you, so they know what it's all like, and they're there to support you. But the other thing is just the sort of like the contacts of the bloggers that you can meet as well, because through doing these competitions, your book is getting read by, if you get to the finals, say your book's getting read by at least 10 different blogs, and if they like your book, then they'll be more likely to sort of like read your next book or whatever as well. So it's been quite useful in that sense, in that the books that I've released further down the line, I've been able to say, look, hey, you liked my other book, please have a review copy of this one, read and review this one as well, which is always a good way to try and get your more eyes on your book, basically, via the bloggers.
I'm sorry, I just saw the comment about Crystal writing a grimdark My Little Pony.
I'll read it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was, a lot of this is like, I'm trying to for you guys to answer questions, but my experience was the exact same. We still have our little Discord group with our finalists from 2020, and we still complain to each other about things. We still get to hear, exciting news early. Like we had 2 of the people that were finalists in our group who were picked up, their series were picked up by traditional publishers, and we got to hear about that a little bit early, which was kind of fun. So yeah, the relationships have definitely, at least for me, been like the biggest part. And I have the next question on my list was, is it worth the pain? And I think the answer is yes. But I'm curious if there's any other thoughts. I guess this group is probably,
Yeah, the bamboo shoots under the fingernails. That was the tough part for me, but the reviews were okay. We've talked about getting those reviews and how those are helpful. And honestly, the writers are collegial. The judges certainly are. So nobody's going to be very harsh. They're all trying to, boost you up and help you. So I don't think there's any pain, especially, the people we're talking to here did pretty well. They didn't necessarily get the bottom scores, or if they did, they didn't know. They just didn't advance. So we No, I don't mean you all. I mean the people. Never mind. We'll let that one go. So it wasn't painful for those of us who had ended up kind of higher in the ranks.
I think too, like one of the things that was really, I knew this kind of like surface level going in, but one of the things that was cemented for me was the subjectivity of reviews. You'd get one person that was like, this is gross and I hate it. And then the next person would be like, this is exactly what I want. It's the best thing I've ever read. And there was no telling who was going to say that or why or what was going to resonate with them or what was going to send them, vomiting into a bucket, if you will. But, it was, it really, for me, it was painful. It was. I entered a romance book into a fantasy competition. I did not expect that it was going to be a lot of fun, but it was worth it because I think like my skin got thicker just from understanding that it's not about you at all. It's about, what that person wanted when they opened your book and if they got it or not. And that was a pretty valuable lesson. I think that was worth the pain.
I think the number of benefits that you can get from entering a competition like this or a contest like this automatically make it worth the pain, to be honest, because it's like the pain that you're going to get, maybe you'll get a bad review and that can knock you down for a while, but the number of benefits you can get from various different aspects of it across the board just make it absolutely worth it.
Agreed. All right, so I'm gonna follow up with that and say, or ask, how does the competition correlate to general success of a book?
It doesn't.
I don't know. So Blackstone Heart, which came second, was already sort of selling well before the competition, but like summer 2021, I quit my day job. And now I was able to time the release of book 2 with the end of the competition that Blackstone Heart was in, and that worked really well. Would it all have happened anyway? I don't know. But it seemed like to me like the competition had a fairly huge impact on sales.
And year over year, it probably improves, right? Just because there's more people who are aware of the competition every year. And so the further along it gets, the more of a audience there is.
Yeah, I don't know if... go ahead, Jen.
Oh, so it's interesting. I was going to bring this up. I don't know if this is the right question to bring it up on, but one of the things that is interesting about it is that, like, it had this reputation in the beginning of being kind of grimdark, epic leaning. And so I think if you put a book in that matched that, you were matching the judges, you were matching primarily the people watching the competition, then it could definitely have an impact on your sales and your visibility. If you had a book, say, that was a bit of an outlier, like Reign and Ruin is, I think it can impact you and it can appeal to a wider audience, but it could also have the opposite effect. Like your book may get in front of people that aren't going to love it because it's not really their style. And I mean, I didn't experience that, but it is an interesting thought process because there is a lot of like just luck and timing involved in who moves forward in the competition. Because just of, whatever is the judges change and what they want changes, or, what books are in that year against what other books. And so you may go forward and end up in front of a bunch of people that are like, this is not the kind of book I want to read, but is it interesting thing to think about as well that way? What kind of contest are you entering, and is it the correct audience for your book?
Yeah, we had, it's only the second year now. Last year was the first year for Spacefuck. And can't say that without blushing. And so we didn't, a lot of people didn't even know what it was. It was explained, but it's really just in its infancy. And I would say that it certainly helped our book and the whole trilogy but things have calmed down a little bit since the end of the contest. You know, when you're in the thick of it and people are watching the scores and people are tweeting out or putting the reviews on their blogs, et cetera, you get a lot of attention, and then it sort of calms down. So, Tom, I wonder what your experience was, because you were in the first one as well, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. It definitely got, like, you know, I noticed that kind of every time In the Orbit of Sirens went up in the ranks, I did get a boost in sales, which was pretty cool. It just meant that, you know, the contest was getting around and enough people were seeing it, and it was generating interest for everybody's books. And I'll even admit, I've been slowly going through all the a lot of the books in that first contest too. When I'm writing, I read a lot slower because I don't want to like affect my reading enjoyment with like thinking about writing a book. But yeah, I read like J.M. Nair's Duck and Dyer Dicks for Hire, which was also one of our, you know, like top finalists and everything. It was amazing. It was fantastic. And I'm just trying to go through. I'm going to go through Captain Wu as well, and all the other ones too. But like, yeah, it's like it definitely did help a lot that way, as far as just getting exposure and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, just positive experience, I would say.
And then there's the flip side too, right? Where like with just, I think, competitions in general, really like book competitions, I think like the Hugos and Nebula and stuff, the books that win those are not always the ones that are selling the most. And I think SPFBO and SPSFC are the exact same. There are books that are selling 100 times more than my books are selling that didn't even make it past the first round. And the general readership, you know, they have opinions and they have things that they want to read. And those are often things that just don't do as well in competitions, maybe because they're, you know, generic tropes that people want to read about, but maybe don't feel as novel or anything like that in a competition setting. So I think that's kind of interesting as well.
It's a complicated calculus as to why things sell, because it can be the cover, it can be the author and other things they've written, it can be the genre, it can be the specific tropes, it can be contests, it can be the price, you know, so many things. So it's hard to say how a particular contest would necessarily affect the actual sales.
Rob's like, progression fantasy's nice.
Apparently it sells quite well, so I figured I'd give it a go. I don't know. The way I look at the question is like, so I won the SPFBO with Where Loyalties Lie, and that book has never sold particularly well. You know, it was I thought it would. It was Grim Dark Pirates. Why wouldn't that sell? Apparently, it's just never really sold that well. So, whereas I was in the finals with Never Die, and that book has sold easily 10 times better than Where Loyalties Lie ever did. And then last year, I think it was, I entered Along the Razor's Edge, and that book went out it didn't even make like I think they were doing quarters at that point. You know, it went out on like the slush pile read, and that book has sold more than pretty much all my other books combined.
Wow.
So while yeah, if your book does well in the competition, you're likely to get a boost at every stage of the way. It's not like any of those boosts are going to be like, oh yeah, this is the one that's going to sort of like, you know, make a big splash. It's doing well in the competition isn't like a magic bullet to success. But I suppose it could be sort of like a few grains of gunpowder in the magic bullet. It can help. But there's a whole bunch of things that will get that bullet speeding out the gun. I just fucked that metaphor completely,
I was
didn't
going
I?
to say that's really interesting.
It was so
grains of gunpowder in your bullet. Okay, I you know.
I think it
I tried, I failed.
With what people were saying
one
for
thing that's kind of
how does it
cool.
affect your career? Oh, go for it, Tom.
Oh, I was just going to say, what is kind of cool from what you're saying, it sounds like, although the one that won isn't the one that's selling the most, it may have helped bring in some people to you as a writer and just kind of like, oh, you know, maybe this one's not my jam, but that looks awesome, you know? So, I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't know if the contest is sold away for that, but it might sure can help.
It will certainly have helped. I mean, every step of the way you sort of the more visibility you get, the more people who are reading your books, the more likely you are to be picking up readers, some of which won't continue, some of which will stick with you. So yeah, I mean, after entering SPFBO 5 times now, luckily I guess I've picked up quite a few readers along the way. So it's all helped out in that way. So yeah, there is a sort of like, there probably is a bit of a correlation, but it's not like, oh, this book's done well, it's going to sell really well. It's just yeah, it might have done well. It's the difference between critical success and commercial success in many ways.
That's probably why everyone in the group, when they were talking about how it's affected their writing career, everyone was like, I made lots of great relationships with other authors and with bloggers. Nobody said it made me a lot of money, right?
$5, $10.
You needed to get Josiah on here. He's the one that would be sat there going, yes, this competition did very well for me.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. I'll have to chat with them. All right, so I had another question down on here that actually Bo Kelly asked the exact same thing in chat. So we'll move on to that one, which is, what would you change if you could change anything about the competitions?
Oh, I
And
have
know
an answer.
they're
I have
both
an
slightly different. So yeah, maybe we'll start off with SPSFC. So we'll go Patrice then Tom.
Okay, maybe if this exists, I don't know about it. Certainly those reviews, which are very informative for the authors and helpful in getting a little publicity for your book, go up on various blogs. Whoops, I just lost one ear here. I can still hear you. But I don't see a place where the contest itself has a website or a presence to promote those. And that would be a great place where they were all aggregated and people could read them and read the reviews and decide, whether or not that's a book for them. And it would last, people could go there even when the contest is over, and on the individual blogs, the reviews might roll up the screen, and you wouldn't see them because they're from a year ago or whatever. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, funnily enough, SPFBO does kind of have that with
Do they?
It's all hosted on Mark Lawrence's site, but yeah, he has the SPFBOs throughout the previous years, and you can see all the entries, all the finalists, all the winners and the scores they had and everything, which is really useful. And I did notice that about the Space Fuck. It's that there doesn't seem to be a hub that you can go to learn about it really. So I honestly have no idea how my book is doing in the contest at the moment, because I'm just like, how do I find out? I don't even know which group it's in.
Yeah. That's a great idea, honestly. Like, yeah, because the one thing I agree, I liked seeing the reviews trickle in, but I may have even missed a few. I don't know if one just slipped by me or anything like that. So it would have been awesome to just be able to click my book or whatever, see what ones, and then for potential readers, I could even point them to that. And I guess overall, what could be great for SPSFC going forward is to just keep copying SFBO. Just keep doing it. Because they got. It seems like you guys have it a lot. It's we're new with the SPSFC, so we're still figuring it out and everything. But Zach, you showed that coin earlier. I'm like, that's really cool.
Right.
These are brand new.
Just little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ways to kind of promote the contest.
Area.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah.
They don't look expensive, so we could probably afford them. Of course, all of this is more administrative time, and I'm not personally volunteering to do it, but maybe Tom is. Tom, would you like to be in charge?
So what's interesting, your comment about that, is when SPSFC was first starting, somebody reached out to me, and I don't remember who it was, because I do a website for SPFBO that has all of the all 300 books that are entered. It's got their covers, and then they get blacked out a little bit once they get eliminated from the competition, and they get a little thing when they become a semi-finalist and then a finalist.
It's very fancy.
And
that's cool.
Somebody reached out to me and was like, "Can you share the code for that so that I can use it for SPSFC?" But unfortunately, the way that I do it there's not code I can share. And they were like, "Oh, dang it. That would be really nice."
No, it's crayon, man.
Yeah, but Zach, you could do it for Spacefuck too.
I sure could, but I'm not gonna. I've already taken up too many things.
That's kind of where we're at. It's like, oh, we should do these, and then it's like, who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
Somebody else.
That's interesting though. All right, let's jump over to SPFBO. Jen, Rob, and Michael, any thoughts? What would you change if you could change anything?
Actually,
I don't know.
if I can drag it back to space fuck again. I can't do that acronym. What SPFBO seems to have that, at least from my perception, and maybe I'm too far outside of it, I don't know. SPFBO's got more of a community sort of actually working around it. And I know Hugh Howey is sort of like a supporter or sort of host of Spacefuck, but I he doesn't seem to be like actively involved, or if he is, I'm just missing it. That's totally possible. But like Mark Lawrence actually, he's the glue, yo. He's providing a bit of a binding agent, and a central place to sort of bring everything together. There's the Facebook groups, a group around it that's fairly active. That sense of community, I'd love to see Spacefuck get some of that. Would be very cool.
Well, and even like the continuity across the years, I think is pretty cool in SPFBO, right? Where like there's every year, ML Wong puts together like a big sale for all of the previous finalists, and so now we've got like 8 years of finalists who all put their books up for like 99 cents or free every year for a week or two. I can't remember how long it is, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, there's like this definitely a community built. All right, SPFBO.
I don't know.
Rob, Jen, what you think?
I think a lot of
Jen's
people
like, I don't know. It's fine.
No,
It's perfect.
No, it's not that. It's not perfect. I think everybody knows it's not perfect, but I think just by the nature of what it is, it can never be perfect because like I said earlier, there's a lot of subjectivity in reviewing, and so it's very difficult to compare. Like just in our year, Mike and Clayton had the world's darkest book. And then you had my book that was a fantasy romance. Like, how do the judges compare those two against each other? It's very difficult. And so, no, I do not have any suggestions.
It should have been based on body count.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes. Okay, fair enough.
Which kind of body count are we talking about, Michael?
I know what
There
kind.
were, Michael. They just weren't really.
Oh.
Described.
Oh. Damn it.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, you've got, they do try to refine the judging process and everything, I think a little bit each year, but I don't know. I think they're doing a pretty good job, and I cannot from the outside be like, this needs to be fixed, I guess it's tainted coming from somebody that won. It sounds very self-serving, but in truth, I was really impressed with the contest because I very much expected to get handed my ass. And that everybody was really professional, and lots of people, my book was not to their taste, and they were kind about it. They were very professional. So yeah, they do a good job.
Nice. Thoughts, Rob?
I mean, from the outside, I do kind of feel like the maybe something that needs to be changed on the judges' end, but it's just from the outside, because you look at the turnaround of judges, and quite often you hear people saying like, oh, I'm burnt out from judging SPFBO, and
I don't know how they do it.
No, I mean they're reading, what is it, at least 39 books, I think it is. A year for it, which is a lot. In any stretch of it, it's a lot. So I do wonder if like there might be a better way to structure the judging to stop judges from getting burnt out like that. But again, it's on the outside. I don't know what's going on for the judges. I did a guest judge for 1 year, and I had 5 books to read, and that was a lot for me. So I'm a slow reader.
Yeah.
Actually,
there's. Oh,
sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry, I had one. No, damn it.
It's you.
Okay. I had one sort of mechanical suggestion for both competitions. I'd love to see it set basically in stone that the book one a judge puts forward to the finals gets an 8, And then after that, you're reading everything based on that score. Because I've seen there was one year where somebody, the book they put forward, they gave it a 10. Now, if you haven't read the other books yet, you've effectively said nothing can be better than this.
Oh.
You're just like, but you haven't read them yet. So what if you read something else and you're like, oh shit, this is leagues better than that 10. So I would say the book you put forward is an 8, and then everything else you read, you are comparing to your finalist.
I like that. As long as you're right, as long as you're consistent within your own bracket as a judge, then it should work out.
So so that's the way it works with SPFBO, that a team or a judge chooses one book from their group, it's different the way we do it in Spacefuck. It's all numbers. At the beginning, there's a yes, no, and then it's numbers. At least on my team, there's nothing where we say, I mean, we might give something a 10, but that's for that rung of the judging, and then we compare it with other things. You might give something a 5, and it still goes forward. I mean, that isn't likely, but because other people on the team gave it a higher score, so it sounds like it's a little bit of a different mechanism.
I think they average the scores if it's a multi-person team, and then they put forward their highest scoring book.
Yeah, that's definitely what we do. But I don't think there are any individual judges. So, but I can see how it would work if you just have one person who's, the judge for that, whatever. You're not calling it a team now, whatever they call it.
One thing I would love to see, and I know this can be hard, is like within a judging group, I would love to see all of the finalist scores come from the same people.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a consistency thing, right? Where like there are several judges who like judging groups where an individual will judge one book, a different individual will judge another book, and these are the finalists. And so the scores are subjective to the individuals, but it's not the same individual even within the same blog. And I think that can be really tricky just for a lot of reasons. So I'd love to see kind of some consistency across like a single.
I thought the way the blogs of teams did it was in the sort of like the early stages. A book they might have like 5 different judges who were reading 6 different books each and putting one forward. But I thought they all did the thing where when it gets to the finals, they all read all the books. I might be wrong about that.
I think
all
that's
of
great,
them do.
but not all of them do.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. Any other thoughts on what could be improved?
No.
All right.
I would win all the contests. That's
whatever
the
makes me
thing that would
win.
improve it from.
I want a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Just
Right?
give me one.
Oh, I did write down. How do you think cash prizes would affect the competitions, or would it?
Poorly.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't
feel
know.
like whenever you bring cash prizes in, you're attracting a different group of people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I just mean that like
Yes, you do.
okay, fine. I do. I'm very judgmental. No, I just mean that like when you bring cash prizes into it, people may be submitting books that, they already do a little bit, but I feel like you might get a bit more of the brand new person that needs the funds and is not ready. They're not ready for that kind of competition. You know what I mean? But the money is really appealing. Whereas when it's a prestige thing, you can step back and think, okay, is my book ready for this? And some people, I don't know. That's my thought on it. I just don't know that it would affect it in a positive way.
And
I
I
agree
think
with that.
Wouldn't you have to then charge to make that money unless somebody's going to underwrite it? So everybody has to now to get in $30 or $50 or $100 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
Mark Lawrence will pay for it. It's fine. He makes
fine.
money from his book, doesn't he?
He said it was cool.
If Mark funds it, then yeah.
Then you're sort of, sucking the money out of the, sorry, did that noise come out of the hands of the hardworking authors that, you know, need to make money rather than giving away money.
I think,
Awesome.
like, as most of us have said it at one point or another, it's like one of the best things that we got, at least out of SPFBO, is the community. And it's the friends that you make along the way, which sounds corny as hell, but it is.
Did you just make that up? That's brilliant.
I know, amazing. No, but like it is true. Like we've all said, it's like it's the, you know, the group of friends, especially in the finalists that we've made, have been very close knit. And I think if you start introducing cash prizes, it can change the dynamic, because there's a lot more sort of drive, I guess, to win. Whereas at the moment, the reward is kind of nebulous. Okay, you won, well done. You get, in the SPFBO, you get a wand. But that doesn't necessarily equate to your book being better than the next person's, or being, you know, going on to be more successful or anything like that. The moment you start introducing a cash prize, it's like, well, there's a bit more sort of like, oh, I want to win, I need the cash, rather than, you know, anything else.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that everybody would feel that way, but it might contribute to a sort of lessening of the community aspect.
How much could it be? I mean, if it's $500, that's fantastic. But unless it's $1 million, it's not going to really change everybody's life. So, well, I mean, not that I have so many $500 laying around, but I'd like $1 million. That would be good. I have an unimportant question for Rob. Why does your background keep getting bigger and smaller as you move? Is there something special about?
I don't know. Does it?
There, it just did it.
Oh, I think I've got. Oh, it's autofocus or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I thought you were just
thanks for pointing
I'm
out,
gonna shit.
Patrice. Now I'm not going to be able to stop seeing it.
He's in one of those breathing houses.
Does anybody get motion sickness? Because let's do this.
I think you have to do it more slowly.
I don't know.
Oh, never mind. Don't even go there.
All right. Next question. I want to hear what books that you have found through the competitions that have become favorites of yourself.
I kind of mentioned mine earlier, so I don't mind going first really quick. But yeah, Duckin and Dyer, Dicks for Hire. I love that book. It was so good. It's out of my normal wheelhouse too. I read it because I had met GM Nair, the guy who wrote it and everything, when we did a different panel for SPFBO. And he was just so funny. And on Twitter, he's just such a funny dude that, like, I'm like, I want to read his book just because I think he's going to entertain me in a way, you know, that I'm not normally, you know, usually I'm just reading, you know, high fantasy or sci-fi or something like that. So this was like more of it was a sci-fi for sure, but it was like an urban sci-fi where you're in like the real world and there's portals and dimensions and stuff. But it was fantastic and I loved it. And yeah, got that through SPSFC, the first one. And I want to do more of them too. So I'm kind of just slowly cruising through.
Love it. It's a great one. Anybody else have any favorites?
This is fairly cliched, but ML Wong's books. And then Barbara Kloss is a new favorite of mine. And then I discovered Trudy Skies this year because of SPFBO, and J.E. Hannaford. So those are all new favorites for me.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah. So each year I buy all of the finalists in paperback because that's the format I'm comfortable with. And there's so many different books and such like wildly different styles, but I've genuinely enjoyed all of them. And this year, actually reading for a fantasy book critic as a guest judge. So I hate cozy fantasy. I have no fucking place for it. I'm like, it's disgusting. And then I read Quen's The Care and Feeding of British Dragons, and it is hands down the best book I've read this year. So I like cozy fantasy.
Are we talking about 2023?
This year. No, sorry,
you've read so far?
2022. I read it last year. I read it
Yeah.
at the end of
future.
2020.
Quinn will win you over. She will.
I think it's time for Fletcher to write a cozy fantasy.
It probably
Right?
is.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
I think you can do
Crystal's
it.
trying to coin cozy grimdark. Sorry, Crystal, I butchered that. But so I think Fletch should just get on board.
That's funny.
I mean, I want Crystal to co-write with me.
Yeah.
Michael, can you just write like a cozy book? It's a husband and a wife, but the husband's dead and the wife is a necromancer, and it's just
Oh,
them
I could
living
totally
their
do
life.
that. Yeah.
We're just having a good
Wow.
Sounds sweet.
Well, I should say that I'm reading, of course, books this year that I really probably shouldn't talk about favorites. I have a couple, but because we're still in the middle of the competition, some of which I'm really enjoying. And one of the things that it's made me think about is, what's science fiction? Because one of them that I like a whole lot, and this will, hopefully they'll make it farther in the contest and I can say what they were or say what this particular book was. It's a little steampunky, and it's space punk. Is that a thing yet? And it's a little bit of time travel. So I suppose it's SF enough, but most of the book certainly is not classic science fiction. And so that was one of the issues that has sort of come up for us, but we're withholding judgment. We're not going to say it can't get a good score because it's not science fiction-y. If it's in the competition and we accepted it, then, that's not going to count against it. And I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed, of course, Tom Bruno's book last year.
Well,
and
I'm honored.
yes.
Tom's like, liar.
And no, it wasn't very good at all. No, it was great. And
it is 5th place material.
And as I mentioned, well, that's pretty good considering, and I also like the first place winner, Iron Truth. And
I got that on my shelf over there.
Yeah, there's I think it's a trilogy, and the first one is a big long book, but very good. So those are the ones I particularly noticed.
That's awesome. Also, Michael, you have to write that book now because Crystal just came up with the perfect tagline. I don't know if you guys saw that. Putting the romance in necromancy.
Oh, that's great.
It's too good.
Of course.
Good. Oh man, Rob, any favorite books from the competitions?
I mean, yeah, I've read loads, but I feel like I have to bring up like Senlin Ascends. I know it's sort of like it got picked up and went trad, but I absolutely loved that book, and all of the sequels that I've read. I still haven't read the final one yet, but there we go. But I just thought it's absolutely beautiful. The prose is absolutely gorgeous. I love that book. And then Sword of Kagan. I actually read that before the SPFBO that year, and then I heard that she was entering into SPFBO, and I was like, yeah, well, I'll enter my book, but what's the point? Miracle's already won, and lo and behold, she did. So, but then, last year I actually read Trudy Sky's book as well, 13th Hour, and I really enjoyed that one. I haven't got the sequel yet, but I'm planning to pretty soon. So
covers. So good. Perfect. For me, myself, I've read quite a few of them. Really enjoyed pretty much all of them that I've read. I really had a lot of fun reading the Combat Codes trilogy. Thought those books were just like nice and fast paced and just fun. Just people fighting people. And that's how the government works. They just put two people to fight each other to make decisions. And it's just like, it's pretty absurd. There's also like Final Fantasy inspiration in the books later on. And I had a lot of fun with those ones. So I'll say that so I don't say Sword of Kagan again. All right. So for people who were not there in our little pre-session where we got to chat before the live started, I thought that this was an hour long, and I'm going to keep it close to an hour long because that's how I roll. And so we're going to move into the conclusion section. And as part of that, I would love to hear from each of you about what we can expect from each of you in 2023, or what can we look forward to coming out from each of you. And I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So we're going to start with Fletcher and jump over to Tom.
Okay. So 2023 is going to be a busy year. The Storm Beneath the World, which is the first book in a strange insect-based fantasy series that takes place They live on the backs of floating sentient islands in the upper atmosphere of a gas giant. So it all makes sense, right? So that book will be out. Sin and Sorrow, which is the last book of the City of Sacrifice series, will be out. A War to End All, which is the last book in the Manifest Delusions series, will also drop this year. And I actually have time because two of those are written and the third one is almost finished. I have time to write a fourth book and release it, and I might do it, or I might stall it until next year. So I, drag things out, but there's a lot of shit going this year.
Dang, impressive, man. Love it.
I've been busy.
Whoa. My kids are loud. All right, let's jump over to Tom and then go to Jen.
I am in the middle of editing the first draft of a book I hope to release this year, probably like middle of the year, called Down Below Beyond. It is a whatchamacallit? It's a standalone book, but it exists within the same universe that's in the Song of Kamaria. But you don't need to read that trilogy at all to get this book. And it's a sci-fi about a guy named Lavort Atra, who is a prospector on an abandoned world called Teox. And one day he finds a mysterious spaceship in this rubble, and he stakes a claim to it. But little does he know, he just put a big target on his back. So it's got lots of aliens, lots of different stuff than the Song of Kamaria had. So it's been super fun to write, and I like editing it because now that I know it has a start and an ending, I like to make it better. Everything, because when you're writing that first draft, it just kind of feels like, oh God, is it even going to end? It doesn't have an ending, but it did, and it's good. But yeah, so there's that, and honestly, that's probably it for me this year as far as publications go. I'll probably just be reading all your books. So,
it sounds threatening when he says that.
I know. I'm going to read your books.
And you will get
Prepare
2 stars.
yourselves. I'm like the nicest reviewer, by the way. I find the good in like every book I read. I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm very easy to vibe switch as I'm reading. So, but yeah, no, I'm excited to just see I'm excited to see more of the SPSFC 2. And I might go shopping as I see some books pop up. I've been reading, actually, I see a lot of the people in the chat. I've been reading a lot of their reviews as they come out for the things. It's been super cool to see people that I've been friends with before join the SPSFC. And I'm really interested to see how they're doing reviewing and stuff. So it's been really cool. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of my year.
Love it. That book sounds awesome, man. All right, Jen, and then Rob.
All right. So I said at the beginning here, I'm working on my 4th book. It's been a while. Life kind of burned us out for a bit. So I absolutely want to get this 4th book out this year. And one book is I tend to overestimate how much I can do in any given amount of time. You'd think I would have learned by now, but I haven't. So I'm going with one book this year, and it's called Ice and Ivy, and it's number 4 in my series.
Love it. Make it happen.
Yeah.
People are waiting, so no pressure.
A few are.
A lot of few. Okay. All right, Rob, and then Patrice.
I'm taking it a little bit easy this year. I'm taking my time to write a big chunky epic fantasy called Age of the God Eater, but that's going to be coming out next year. So for this year, I'm actually only releasing one book, which may sound like, oh, you're still releasing a book, but yeah, I've been releasing 2 or 3 for the past few years, but I'm trying to slow down. So this year I am releasing Spire Climbers, which is book 2 of Titan Hoppers, which is my book that's in Spacefuck this year. I don't know when that'll be coming out, but it's this year at some point. It's all written already, so I'm just sort of waiting to get the edits back, and then I'll get that sorted. And then that's it. I'm taking a nice casual year where I just sit and write things instead of constantly worrying about, oh God, I've got another book coming out.
Love it. Thanks, Rob. And good luck with that chunky beast you're working on. Excited to learn more about that. All right, Patrice, what you got coming up?
Well, I want to say one more thing about the competition. This wasn't really a question, but I did want to say as a judge this year in SPSFC, it's hard to judge because there are so many good books. And of course, it takes a while to read them, but and so many different points of view, and we all have our preferences. Maybe I'm less of a mechanical type or less of a pew person or whatever, and I like the funny ones better or whatever, but you have to keep an open mind. So it's great. And so this is a commercial for people being judges or parts of teams of judges next year. Do that because we need more readers, and it's lots of fun. It's really exciting to see them. So as for me, Jack Lister down in Oz, whom I've never met, by the way, but I feel like I know him well by now. I've seen his face on the screen. We have already put together the second trilogy, the Rev trilogy in the Starship Nameless trilogy series, world, universe. And but it's being edited, and we're getting covers and doing all that stuff that comes with being a self-published author. And at least the first two of those should come out in 2023, maybe all three of them, because they're ready. And an advantage to doing them all together like that is, if you change your mind about something, or you say, darn, I should have dropped this hint in. You all know what that's like. You haven't put it out there yet. So you can say, oh, I have to have this person show up in scene, 22 in the first book, because he's going to come around in book number 3, and there's going to be a big payoff. So, and some people, do that automatically, and sometimes you think of it after the fact and say it would be better if we do it this way. So we're working on the next trilogy, the Rev trilogy. So if you were serious about singing, when you're done, I would like to sing the panel off. Not the same song.
Jen will feel really embarrassed, but you can do it.
Why will Jen be embarrassed? She doesn't
I don't know,
know about
just her
music.
face right there.
So are we done? Should I?
Jen, your mic is here.
Well,
Okay,
surely
can you hear
Zack
me?
needs to tell us about what he's got going on this year as well.
Oh yeah,
Potato
right,
farmers, wasn't it?
yes.
What?
Was it potato farmers that you're writing about this year?
Yeah. So I'm actually probably not going to be publishing that this year. That'll be next year. I'm taking a slow one on this next book, but I'm starting a new series. The series is called Symphony in the Skies, and the first book will be called The Fall of Cloud 7. There's going to be floating islands. There will be a potato sommelier, and there's going to be lots of good stuff. It's going to be about three married couples saving the world: a 60-year-old couple, a 40-year-old couple, and a 20-year-old couple. So it should be fun. Working on that. All right. I think that's it. So we will sign off by saying, of course, thank you to, again, FanFiAddict and Adrian and Sean for helping organize this stuff and taking care of us during the panel. TBRCon in general. I mean, I got to participate last year as well. It's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys put this together and do all of this work to make it happen. Thank you to everybody who came and showed up in the comments. Being here with us live really brings some energy to us. It's not like a super fun time when you're doing a live and there's 2 people watching. So thank you to everybody who showed up, and to everybody on YouTube. Thank you as well. And with that, we will sign off with, I guess, Patrice singing us into oblivion.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars.
Sean's like, when do I cut? I
Let
don't know.
me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words,